This is the Three Bucket Podcast number 4, with me, Aditya Dewan. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness, it was the epic of belief, and it was the epic of incredulity. It was the season of light, it was the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope, it was the winter of despair. We had everything before us, yet also nothing before us. We were all going direct to heaven, we were all going direct the other way. In short, the period was so far like the present period that some of its noisiest authorities insisted on its being received, for good or for evil, in the superlative degree of comparison only. That was the opening passage of Charles Dickens' A Tale of Two Cities, and it describes the splitting duality of the world that we live in. Success, failure, right, wrong, growth, or loss. These polar opposites come together to make what we see as the world. And today, we have someone who understands these principles and what they mean for people today. Laura Gao is a 15-year-old who has been working on leveraging the superior speed and power of quantum computers to improve machine learning. She is the writer of a personal blog where she delves deep into projects, economic principles, social justice issues, and achieving success in the 21st century. Laura, glad to have you on.
Wow, thank you so much for having me. That was a very kind intro.
Yeah, no problem. So, what made you want to start writing the blog in the first place?
Oh, okay, this is interesting. Someone I know, his name is Samson. He has this thesis, which is, I'm quoting him. He says, "I have not learned about something until I published about it." And for this reason, I first saw him like back in January. He was writing like a blog post a day, like literally, consistently too. And I was just very impressed and like amazed that someone could do that, because it was, New Year's time in January. People around me were setting New Year's resolutions. The most ambitious ones I've heard were one article, one blog post a week. And I had thought that was ambitious, and I didn't think I would be able to do that like once a week. But then I saw this guy, Samson, like writing like daily. So I decided to try to adopt that thesis too, and I will try to, instead of setting a goal to write a blog post a week, I started setting this goal to like match Samson's output rate, like one a day, and I did that for a while actually, and that's what made me start. Because I realized a lot of my ideas, like they just get lost. I would think about them, I would feel great, but then afterwards, I forget about them, and that's sad. But by writing blog posts, you preserve your ideas forever. They're what Andy Matushak calls evergreen notes. Last forever. That's how I started.
That's a very interesting way of looking at it. How did you stick with the one post a day schedule? That seems very ambitious.
Okay, I don't think I ever officially try to say I'll do one a day. I don't do one a day. I do I never had a streak. I just would generally be like, when I look back, I think 1 month I wrote around 30. So it averages one a day, but I never actually stick one a day. It just some days I write 3 and then I don't write any for 3 days. But it's most of what I wrote actually is following the publishing what you learn, right? Learning in public. I just write right after I learn something. So for example, recently I read this book called The Story of Your Life, and it was a sci-fi book, but it had these free will implications. So I was reading it. I felt so excited. I never felt that mind blown by any idea before. So it was like, holy crap, this is so good. I never want to forget this. So I'm going to write it down. And then I spent 2 hours after reading the book just writing it, and didn't overthink, should I write, should I not? I just go straight into it. And that's, I think, how I'm able to keep a consistent output. I just write first instinct whenever I learn something without overthinking.
Yeah. once again, I've never actually heard that before. Like writing to preserve your thoughts. Like usually, like other people I talk to, they're always like, I need to write to publish content, or I need to write like just for the sake of it or to communicate something. But with you, it's like that's actually a very different way of looking at it, which is very interesting to me. So, what specifically about like the book on free will entranced you the most?
Okay, so the some background. Basically, that book, it's written. Okay, I'm gonna talk a lot. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. Okay. So it's so basically the book. It's a first of all, it's a literary masterpiece. It's about this. So this woman. Shoot, did I forget her name? Okay, but anyway, the main character. She. Okay. The book starts off. The book is called The Story of Your Life, and it's a book written to her future child. And it's so interesting because like it's written in future tense, like it's saying it's like because she knows what the child will do in the future. So okay, but how does she know what the child will do in the future, right? It's basically the premise of the book is that okay, so basically there's this physics this physics principle where it's like when you're describing the refraction of light, like when, for example, when light is moving through the air and then it moves through the water, when like light, because air is like because light travels faster through air than through water, the light through the water, it will like bend, right, when it touches. That's it, like when it touches the water. That's why, like, if you ever go into a pool and you try to reach down for an object, it's like the object is not where you think it is because light has bent. And we've learned this in like grade 10 science class at school. It's a commonly known thing, common enough to be in the outdated education system. but yeah, but how they teach it, right, is like it's cause and effect. First light hits the water and then it bends, and that makes sense in the human worldview where time is linear. There is a now and there is a future and there is a past. But in the book, but there's also another way of looking at this exact same principle, and Fermat devised this. It's called the principle of least time. So basically it explains the exact same thing, but it says light it explains the same phenomenon through different methods. So it says light will know where it wants to end up in, and then it adjusts its speed through the air and through the water to end up in that place through like the least time, right? So for example, if light travels in a straight line from point A to point B, and point A is in air, point B is in water, that straight line will not be the fastest path because light will travel more like a certain amount of time in water, which is slower. So instead, light might bend a little bit to travel less distance through water, but but it's a longer overall distance, right? But it's like less time. So light tries to maximize that. Minimize time, right? But then that in the book, Louise, that's her name. She learns about this and she feels, and it's so like strange to her because it doesn't make sense in the human worldview of cause and effect. It's like, does light already know where it's going to be in the future, and it has to make all the calculations beforehand which way to go, and like light cannot like test out different paths. It cannot like try one path, oh, this one's too long, and then we go backtrack, because if you like backtrack, you're spending more time. So light has to know in advance, right? And this principle, this Fermat's principle, is actually a pretty complicated principle. It's not something we will learn in school. It's derived through like calculus, like integrals and stuff. It's complicated for humans. But in the book, there are aliens. These aliens are called heptapods, and basically these heptapods are interesting because they have like Fermat's principle of least time and these principles as their foundation of physics. And they actually have trouble understanding the cause and effect laws that humans have. And the reason is that heptapods, they look at the world differently. Heptapods, basically, they know the future. And because they live in what the book calls it, quoting the book, a simultaneous mode of existence. because they live in this simultaneous mode of existence, they see the future, they see the past. This Fermat's principle of least time actually makes more sense to them than the humans' worldview of cause and effect. So, okay, but basically what entranced me, to answer your question, is the fact that like this physics principle is like, and this philosophical worldview has like, they're like connected with each other. That's actually not the most mind-blowing part, but I've already talked enough.
No, it's actually a really interesting principle. So humans operate primarily on cause and effect, and what you're describing is that some parts of nature already know their desired effect and just need to calculate the right causes.
Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah, you could put it that way. That's nice.
Yeah, but I mean, it's kind of like a metaphor for long-term thinking as well, right? Like, instead of, like, for example, if you were a light particle and you didn't know what the fastest way was, and you just kind of tested out all the different ways of getting through the water, like the fastest, I don't know the actual physics of this, but that would be far more inefficient than if you already knew where you were going and you just had to figure out the steps to take.
Oh, maybe that's how you should set better goals.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's actually a really like, I was reading your article on that yesterday. Like, I had to sit down for like 5 minutes and like process what that actually meant, because it's like, if you have an effect, that means that there is probably a set path for you to get there, and the sooner you get on that path, or the closer you get to that path, the closer you get to the goal. So the goal in itself is the path, rather than like the end objective. I don't know if I'm making sense.
Oh yeah, it's like life is about the journey, right? Like when you look back at how you achieved your goal, it's never the actual achievement that gives you fulfillment. It's never like you got first place, you won money. It's not the money, the fame that makes you fulfilled. It's like the journey. That's cliche, but that's kind of true. That's why money doesn't make you happy.
Yeah, actually, just speaking of money, like, it's interesting how people aren't actually chasing money. Like, they don't care about random dollar bills. They kind of care about like the social respects that it brings, if you know what I'm saying. Like, you don't care about the fact that, oh, it's $1 million or a bit. Like, it's just a number, right? What you care about more is that with that number comes higher social status, comes more respect, and you start to like ascend the dominance hierarchy in some abstract sense.
Possibly. Yeah, I feel like me too. Like, I have, like, my brain is like, I have so many instincts to seek status, and I like, after like Naval's Twitter thread, how to get rich without getting lucky, like that first line, it was like, seek wealth, not money or status. After I internalized that, it's a big holy cow moment. Like it just, I started seeing that everywhere in my life. Like, I'm doing something and it's like, I'm doing this because I want status and not for wealth. Like I think like 5 times every day I catch myself doing something for status.
Yeah, that's okay. First of all, that Twitter thread like that Naval has is just fantastic, and at least for me, it like changed the way I was looking at money, which honestly was a really good thing. And it's just so cool. Like, the idea seek status is literally hardwired so much that you have to like constantly think about not seeking status. Like, it's so hard for, like, every single time, if I don't think about the fact that I'm not supposed to think about chasing status, my brain will automatically push me in that direction. And I'm like, wait, why are we going here?
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, but also I, on the book though, I am a big nerd about this, but basically the most part that actually drove me to write that blog post to answer your question is, it was this idea that it was like, there's free will and there's knowing the future, and you can't have both. And the idea is that like for the heptapods who know the future, they see the future, they already know where the light is going to end up in, and like they're not going to they don't understand cause and effect, so they're not going to act differently. They already see what they're going to do in the future, and it's like, once you see the future, you're going to do it, you're going to act the same way. So yeah, it's like, you don't. And basically, I was like, this has clickbait potential too. It's like people think they want to know the future because it will help them make better decisions maybe, but no, you don't, because if you know the future, you don't even need to make decisions because you don't have the free will to.
That's interesting. So that's kind of like the idea of destiny. Like if you know your destiny, you can't change it. Like you don't have the free will to change it. Is that the principle?
Yeah, that's the idea. I'm actually not sure how much I agree with it, but the premise of the book is based on that. Like that book has like an emotional impact too, because basically, you know how the book is Louise wrote it to her future child. Basically her future child dies at age 25 from a disease, and we don't know that. We think like because we don't know that until the very end and of the book, but and it's like Louise, when she gives birth to the child, she already knows that the child will die at age 25, and she already knows that she will divorce her husband who she's having the child with, and she chooses to have the child anyway. Or did she choose to have the child anyway? Maybe after she knows that she will have a child, she cannot change it, right? And it's like, it's that emotional impact. Like she knew that the child will die, and she had the child anyway, and she wrote a book to her.
Wow. Could she not change that? Like in any way? Like if she knew that something was going to happen, wouldn't she be able to do something to like alter that course?
But the principle is that if you know the future, you will not act against what you already know. It's impossible for you to do it. The book explains it better, but what do you think? You don't believe that? I don't know how much I believe it too.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's like, it's a very different, like, I've never heard of that kind of concept before, that if you know the future, you can't, like in the 1920s, they were predicting that by 1960 we'll all run out of food, right? But kind of because of that prediction, that's what caused agriculture to skyrocket and, like, humanity to not die of starvation en masse. So, I don't know, it just seems like, once again, I can only speak for myself, but for me, if I found that, like, oh, my future child's gonna die at 25 or something, I personally would do everything I can to find out how I can, like, change that future, right? Unless the future's fixed. Like, it's immutable, you can't change it. Like, is that a part of that?
I don't know. I think it's more of like, it was like, it's like the book was arguing for like a psychological thing. Like if you know the future, you will not act against it because you know it. So so it doesn't like not that it doesn't cross your mind to act against what you think is the truth. Something that maybe, I don't know. But do you believe in free will?
Okay, that is a very big question. Do I believe in free will? Yes and no. Okay, literally that's like the only answer I can give at this point, like yes and no. Because if I said yes, right, it's like, well, if you have like a mental illness, then yes, it's technically free will, but at the same time, you're being you're also being controlled by something you don't want to be. Like people who have like depression, for example, right? They probably don't want to have depression, but it's like they have it still, right? So it might force them to act in ways that they don't want to. So then in that case, like, it's not free will. But then it's just them. Like, it's their brain telling them that. And technically their brain is a part of them, which is free will, which is like, it just makes my mind go explode.
Okay, but does that only apply to people with mental illness? Like, your brain is being controlled by a bunch of chemicals right now.
Yeah, that's true. That's true as well. Like, if we just injected dopamine in everyone, they would probably make different decisions.
Yeah. But so does that mean people don't have free will necessarily if we can control people with dopamine?
I mean, we already are kind of doing that, aren't we? Like, that's kind of what social media is. It's just basically free dopamine, really.
Oh, yeah. Yo, social media is hijacking your free will by injecting you dopamine. Wait, like literally.
Social media is violating your constitutional rights. Revolt.
Wow.
No, but seriously,
Yo.
like, people get addicted to social media like it's like actual drugs. It is Insane.
Oh yeah, your brain on sugar in a MRI scan looks the same as your brain on cocaine.
No way. Actually?
I think I saw that somewhere. Yeah.
Okay, maybe we need to like I seriously feel like we need to reclassify what like a substance is really like a drug or something like that because at this point like if what you're saying is true like even basic things can cause your brain to get that same state of that I actually didn't know that like damn.
Okay, should I try to find it or I'll send it to you after?
Yeah, that's so sugar has the same effect. Wow. So how do you cope with that kind of thing? Like everything you could be eating or doing might be influencing your brain in ways you can't even realize then.
Yeah, that's the power of environmental design, mimetic desires.
Wow. The okay, so that means that yeah, that's kind of the same thing that I feel like some therapists talk about. Like every little thing in your for example, like as you're growing up, like your childhood, like even something really small as maybe like your relationship with like a particular relative or maybe like your liking for maybe a book or a particular location can like completely shape the rest like goes back to what you were saying about cause and effect. Like the most inconsequential cause can cause such a huge effect, which is like the butterfly effect, but yeah.
All right. Okay. So on the note of the butterfly effect and that stuff, this is a question someone asked me before, but I think it's really interesting. So, if we rewind the world like 200,000 years or some other large number or 2 billion years, and then we play Earth forward from that time, how will the Earth look the same as it looks right now? Or how same or how different?
So if we okay, so you're rewinding the Earth, but then is it assumed like the footage is fixed, like it's immutable, or does cause and effect still play out? Like, is it like a videotaped recording of the planet or something that you're rewinding and forwarding?
Oh no, like we reset the conditions of the universe, yeah, exactly to 2 billion years ago or 200,000 years, whatever.
Okay, that I mean, okay, first of all, I think that's actually so rare though. Like, imagine the probability of a random meteor, I'm not sure what the correct terminology is, but like an asteroid or something that's carrying water. Like, the probability of it hitting Earth in the first place was probably really low, right? But then, if you rewinded that, like, and if it didn't hit Earth, would life itself not exist? So, that's what I'm saying. Like, the entire history of planet Earth can be traced back to one asteroid hitting a planet and magically carrying some water.
Okay, but if you believe in Newtonian, like the Newtonian worldview of physics, it's like everything is deterministic, right? Like if you know the position and the velocity, like these two things, of every single, is it position and velocity or position momentum? Whatever, doesn't matter. Of every single every single particle in the entire universe, you are able to calculate like exactly what happens in the future and in the past. Like because that's what the universe is dictated by, just using Newton's like second law, F equals ma. Like so, it's like you can calculate everything. And everything we don't know is caused by a lack of information. So if you believe that, then that means if you reset the Earth exactly to 2 billion years ago, all the like down to every electron and every atom, then everything will play out the same. But
Okay, so wow. I mean, aren't there some objects that don't adhere to Newtonian physics? Like quantum physics is like an entirely other level. I don't think you can calculate that with force equals m. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's the thing. Like, how would you predict that? Like, wouldn't that be able to offset some of it so it wouldn't be exactly the same?
yeah, that's true. Quantum physics, that is on at least as far as we know right now, most quantum physics believe that it's not deterministic. So like if you have a superposition, okay, now we're going to that territory. Like if you have an electron in the superposition of either spin up or spin down, then like you actually cannot predict whether it will be spin up or down when it collapses, even with all the information in the universe. That's what most quantum physicists believe. But 50 years ago, most people did not believe that. They still believed it's like deterministic. But yeah, but even now, there's no perfect consensus around this. So that's the first thing. There's not perfect consensus about whether quantum is truly inherently random. And secondly, there even if quantum is truly inherently random, then how much of an impact does that have on like the macro scale, right? Like if electrons like collapse into spin up and spin down differently, how much will that impact like if life comes out?
Yeah. Could that change like the formation of atoms? Like if you had different sets of quantum particles in different positions, like would that be something that's possible?
Would that change the formation of atoms? Yeah, I guess. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know that much about this.
Yeah, I mean that's crazy though, and to think that we're actually putting these qubits inside like computers at this point, and trying to get them to operate in a predictable manner, is borderline insane, but also amazing. Like some of the things that it's been doing, and I mean you're obviously someone who's really experienced in that field.
I wouldn't say very experienced. I just been like digging around a lot on the internet.
Modesty 100. Yeah. So what are some of the
Nah.
projects you've done in that field?
Okay, so most recently, I built a web app that runs a quantum machine learning algorithm on the back end. So this was inspired by someone else in the program that Aditya and I go to. So TKS, his name is Evan, and he basically, yeah, he made a web app. It's like an AI algorithm. So what he said was that he was building a lot of these AI machine learning projects, right? But like most projects, you just put the code on your GitHub and then nobody looks at it. Or the only people who can look at it are people who are like dedicated enough to like download your code and like install all your dependencies and whatnot. And like who cares to do that? Only nerds. And you don't want your product to be only for nerds anyway, right? Because if only people who understand like AI can interact with your program, then that means the rest of the world cannot interact with your program. And some people might be okay with that, but I don't know. That just feels so like kind of not very useful. So he made it into a web app with clean user interfaces so anyone can run his AI without code and just type in a sentence and instantly you can get a sentiment calculation. And I saw that it was crazy. It was like, yo, I am doing machine learning without code. This is so cool.
Yeah, like I was talking to him and he was saying the same thing, and to me it was just like, it's so true though. Like half the projects that you have, like you make an AI model, right, and it has like what 95, let's say that you magically get a model that has like 95% accuracy, and then it's like, oh yay, and then it sits on your computer for the next 20 years without any service to the rest of mankind. It's just sad. Like it's just rotting basically.
Yeah, exactly. And like no one else can appreciate that. Like you put in like hours of training to get that accuracy and like nobody will ever see it. Like I don't know, that's maybe self-centered, but it's like you kind of it just feels sad. Yeah, so basically I had this quantum algorithm. Is actually not very fancy and it's not completely my code either. I like modify some other people's code and I built this QML thing, and then I spent like a bunch of time learning web development and I made it into a web app and it's running. So the idea is so anyone can run a quantum machine learning thingy without code. That's the goal, but so actually it still feels very underwhelming because you just press a button and a number comes out. But
Yeah, that's the thing. Like I've been trying to do the same thing with like a symptom diagnosis thing. So it's really basic. You put in your symptoms basically, and an AI analyzes it against like a bunch of records and tries to predict what disease you have. I mean, aside from the fact that sometimes it diagnoses like a cough as a headache, which it still needs to be fixed, you know. Like it's so much cooler to see your thing like alive on the web. Like you can type it in and then you click like enter and it's like, oh my god, it's like it's responding to you. And like like a little child and it's like hi, and the child actually responds back and it's like, did you just interact with the world?
Yeah. Wow, that would be really cool if you build that. Once it's done, I'll be the first one to try it out.
Hopefully it doesn't diagnose you wrong.
Oh.
Yeah, that's like a crazy problem with AI. I think quantum computing is like it's trying to improve like obviously in the ML space, it's trying to improve accuracy there as well. Like how's your experience been with that? Like have you found that it's improving the ML space or it's like fine without it?
Okay, so far, I don't think we're basically right now in quantum computing, we're in what's called the NISQ area. So NISQ, which stands for Noisy Intermediate Scale Quantum. That should be what it stands for. And basically, the name says it. So noisy means, yeah, like you said, right? We trying to control literal qubits, like electrons. That is crazy and that's hard and it's noisy, which means like the electrons, they often get like interference. You get like particles in the air, like you hit the electrons, which destroys the superposition, and that's noise. So right now our quantum computers have a lot of noise. So basically you can't run a very long program because it will interfere and the electrons will lose its superposition halfway, right? Yeah, so because of this limitation, right now the main application of quantum machine learning is in what's called hybrid algorithms. So basically quantum computers, they're really they're good for very dense calculations, like things like with large vector spaces. Yeah, you're familiar with machine learning, when there's like a ton of like parameters, right? It's like it takes a long time to train because you're like gradient descending through very large vector spaces. And quantum computers are good for that. Like they can run that large vector space calculation, that cost function, and calculate it much faster than classical computers. But so basically the idea is that you use a classical computer for long-term things, like for the data storage and most of the data processing, and you just use the quantum computer for these very short bursts of tough calculations. And yeah, that's the main application right now that has potential to be impactful.
Wow.
Yeah.
And is this being used anywhere? Like are companies beginning to turn to this, or is it still very new?
It's very new for sure. I don't know much about how much is actually being used, but most of the talk I hear about it is in research, in the theory of how to design better, in a lot of literature, theory. And there's some just recently, a few years ago, Penny Lane came out. So Penny Lane is the first quantum machine library that a quantum machine learning library that it performs automatic differentiation of quantum gradients. So basically it just calculates the gradients of a quantum algorithm, the quantum cost function. So actually that might not be entirely correct. I need to touch off my own knowledge, but it's new. This quantum machine learning library, this is the first library made for quantum machine learning, and it just came out 2 or 3 years ago. So it's all pretty new. I don't think there's that much industrial actual application, but there's a lot of literature.
I would bet that it's definitely going to explode in the next 10 years. Especially with as you were saying, they introduced a new library. I remember when Keras and TensorFlow, and especially PyTorch, when those came out of machine, it basically went from being unheard of to near exponential growth. I think it was something the number of papers doubled from 700 to 1400 in 2 years, and that was on a per year basis. So honestly, I feel it's definitely going to explode, quantum machine learning, and it sounds cool. The best part is the name, quantum. Imagine going up to someone and being it's what do you do? It's I'm an investment banker. I'm a quantum machine learning engineer. And it's just what?
Oh wow. Wait, what's your when did TensorFlow and Keras come out? I'm actually not sure about this.
Not sure. I think it was like 5 years ago. I think it was. Let me just search it up. When did TensorFlow come out? Okay. 2015. Yeah, 5 years.
Well, wait, that's actually so recent. Well, we live in a great time.
Yeah. And, like, imagine trying to do machine learning without TensorFlow. Like, building all the great... Like, first of all, you have to build the cost function yourself. Then you have to build the network yourself. Then you have to build the backpropagation and forward propagation algorithms. Like, even now, with these libraries, it's so hard to debug a neural network. Imagine just adding in all that other stuff.
Oh, yeah. Like, I've noticed this. I'm a very big beginner at TensorFlow. Basically, well, I played around with it a tiny bit, and like I feel like TensorFlow makes things like so easy. Okay, this you might laugh at this, but because you actually do actual AI and like machine learning stuff, but like I just like doing like a classic like MNIST digit classification. Like it's like you literally they take like 11 lines of code in TensorFlow and it's done, and it's like it almost feels like too easy in a way, but
Yeah, that's partially why like I did the web app thing. Is like the hardest part isn't even the model itself. Like the hardest part is how do you input the data in a way that makes sense, and how do you take that data and convert it into like an insight. Like the machine learning part of machine learning isn't even like the actual job of machine learning engineers at this point, because that takes 10 lines, as you said.
oh, interesting. That yeah, I think that's where quantum machine learning is not at right now. Where they're like, or most people I talk to are still like actually focusing on the machine learning part and not the like part of how to make it useful. So yeah.
Where do you see it in the next 10 to 15 years?
I don't have that much. I don't know about actual like industrial applications too much. What I'm thinking of though, I've been thinking a lot about the creator space in quantum because right now I see like quantum machine learning like it's still like kind of relatively hard to get into. There isn't a single quantum machine learning video on YouTube that has like more than 100,000 views, and maybe I'll be the first. I don't know, but like
Everyone subscribe.
yeah. Thank you. Well, we'll see about that. But it's like AI, right? Like I feel like maybe 5 years ago there weren't like AI videos on YouTube with like 10 million or like a million or like even maybe 100,000 views. Like there weren't that many, but now there are so many. Like AI YouTube is big, so I'm thinking quantum YouTube can become that like in the next 5 years. Like I think it totally can, and that doesn't really answer your question, but that's how I see the future.
No, but you're absolutely right. Like, one thing I've noticed is that I think you've noticed this too, is that the more information is democratized, like the more people begin to use that information for different things. Like if something's easier to do, actually that kind of goes back to what you're saying about the light kind of thing. Like if you know your path, then it's so much easier to go there than if you have no clue where you're going.
Oh, so yeah, people know more quantum. Oh, okay, wow.
Like the more
That's
information there is on quantum, the more people can understand it. That's gonna be reason. Actually, you know what? Speaking of like success, do you think it's like luck, or it's just hard work? Maybe like what's your opinion on that?
okay. Okay, first and foremost, my opinion about that is, I think that question is overrated. Like it's talked about more than I think that question deserves attention, and that's because like first of all, it's like luck is something you can't control, right? And hard work is something you can. So like basically, it's like what you can't control. It's like why like this is what like one TKS director or like what stoicism says is like if there's something you can't control, like just don't think about it, right? Like Harrison, like literally he told me like if there's something that he can't control, like it doesn't make him upset. Like he said if he like he even said like for example if his like parents if his dad called him and told him he's like going blind, or like that's extreme, but like he wouldn't actually be upset. Like that's crazy to me, like because it's something that he knows is out of his control. And I guess that would be the ideal state. I'm not there, but luck, like ideally, like just don't waste your energy on thinking about luck because you can't control it. Thinking about it does not change anything. So whether like people talk about in percentages, is it 50% luck, 50% hard work, or is it 25% luck and 70% hard work, then like does it matter what percentage is it? Like you can't control it, so thinking about it doesn't matter. But that being said, okay, so I think one analogy I like is what Michael Yee said. He said like luck is a lottery, but hard work is your ticket to that lottery. So if you don't work hard, you will not even be entered into the lottery. And if you were like, yeah, like you can understand that analogy. And I like it because it's like, for example, it's like every tweet is a free lottery ticket. Every tweet has the ability to blow up and like get you a job. Like a tweet has the ability to like connect you with someone that will change your life. But of course, like not every tweet will do that, right? So let's say if you tweet like consistently, like every week, every day, whatever, then like if you tweet consistently high quality, then it's almost certain that one of your tweets will change your life if you tweet consistently, and you don't know which one it will be. And but like, yeah, that's one way I think about it, that hard work is a prerequisite to being lucky, and you can just do things like tweets that are free lottery tickets. And the second way is that this is what Elon Musk said. It's like if something is important enough, you do it even if the odds are not in your favor, right? Like launching SpaceX, like launching a rocket, okay? Like that's like even like getting his first rocket to be successfully launched, like that's the odds were not in his favor. Like he got lucky getting like his fourth rocket launched after 3 failures, right? So like if that one didn't launch successfully, SpaceX would not be here, right? So of course he did get lucky, but like, and the chances were unlikely, but it's like, he cared enough about going to Mars and backing up humanity that he it's like it's worth the shot, even if the chances are small. It's worth the try. So yeah, that's how I think about it.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. Like if like why would you care about something you can't control about and instead of focusing? That actually echoes another philosophy, like detaching yourself from the end outcome and focusing on the process. Like it's kind of, I feel like it's very symbiotic with that, right? Like, and that's actually one thing I've noticed. Like the more you try to aim for an end outcome, like obviously goals are cool and stuff, but if you become like like for example, I don't know, I think there was like this study which was like the more you become obsessed with like the end outcome, the less likely you are to achieve it, right? Especially if the outcome's something that you can't actually control. Like I'll give you an example. Like let's say you were in school, right, and you wanted to get like an A+ on something. Actually, I don't think that's the best example because to some extent you can't control that. But even in TKS, like when we were doing like the challenges and things like that, if your goal was something like I want to get my deck sent to the UN, like sure, that's obviously a cool goal. But the more you focus on that goal, the less likely you are to achieve it because you can't actually control whether your deck's being sent to the UN. Like that's in the hand of someone else who's gonna click a button and send your deck. So I think it's just like rephrasing it so that the goal lines with hard work instead of luck. Like maybe saying, I want to create the best deck I've ever created for myself, right? Or I want to solve this problem, I want to get X validation or something like that. Like those are all actual targets that you can meet from hard work as opposed to luck. Like, I don't know, just a thought I had.
You're less likely to achieve it if you focus on the outcome. Yeah, okay, that makes sense theoretically, but I'm thinking about how would you apply it? Like, are your like what are your goals right now? Like are they more like hard work oriented? Like are you is that something you've tried to do?
Yeah. I think I think it's like this concept of keeping that like outcome goal in mind, like but focusing more on I guess like the process kind of goals. Like for example, one of your goals like at least for me is like going and working out more consistently, or specifically like maybe the end image is like I can run X amount of miles. Right? But if I'm constantly thinking about that, it's like it's not necessarily the best for me because it's like you're always thinking about how you can run that many miles and you're always disappointed every day, but you're not really focusing on the process, right? So a better goal would be like, okay, maybe on day one, research the best forms from, like, not necessarily the best forms for running, but fix your form. And then day number two might be run 1 mile and then increase by 1 mile every single week and just focusing on running in the best possible form you can instead of mindlessly obsessing over, oh, I'm not at this many miles yet, I'm not there, right? Because I feel like those daily victories kind of add up to get you to the goal in the first place. Like it forms a little staircase for you as opposed to trying to jump and reach the goal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. I feel like a lot of my goals, like I subconsciously think in like very outcome oriented ways. That's something I could do better, but it's like I think I maybe it's a consequence of it is it's just the way I think. I play too many status games, like I said, right? Like a lot of my goals, like it just subconsciously I think I never like write down that I want like X many likes on like for example a tweet, but I subconsciously think that, and I know I subconsciously think that, and then when I check my Twitter and I don't get that many likes, I get disappointed and like yeah, right, and yeah, yeah, like I have a lot of those things that I subconsciously aim for, like getting likes, getting a person to notice me, getting like Slack reacts, like like right, and yeah. Oh, goals like okay, so I don't have very okay, so like in the short term, like as in next month ish. Okay, I'll just tell you what I'm working on now. I just built the quantum computing web app. I want to do more web development, so I'm with Samsung. I'm like making this beta testing manager web app thingy. It's not much of a goal, but it's I wanna like okay. But another thing is I have this animated video about quarantine psychology, and I had this idea since last year and I never made it. I'm gonna do it in June, and in June is because we have this TKS showcase on June 6th, and I'm helping to plan that, and I'm probably going to help produce it too. We'll see about that, and that will probably take all my and then I also have AP test next week, so I'm just getting over the next week stretch, and then in June I'm gonna make that video. I'm gonna put it out in June, and I'm going to make it like high quality the way I see it in my brain. I have too high quality standards, some people say, but yeah, yeah. And then another goal is just TCAS showcase. I want to do it well. I'm like I want to like maybe host it or something. I don't know if I'll be able to do that, but yeah, those, and I have AP tests. Do well on AP tests. Yeah, I want to, yeah, extending on publishing what I learned. I'm like want to like write all my AP notes as blog posts and publish them, and that way I'm not doing this AP test just for the score but also for the long-term game, right? Like Naval said, play the long-term game. Yeah, so those are my goals. That was very messy.
No, but that's interesting. What motivates you to do all of this? Like, no, maybe motivate isn't the right word because as David, like I sometimes whenever I say like what motivates you or to people, I just hear Goggins yelling, "Motivation is BS, be driven," right? So like, I guess better is what drives you to do all of this? Like, what drives you to constantly like set more and more ambitious goals?
Oh, that's deep. Uh,
Take your time, it's
okay,
fine.
so all right, so okay, on the deep level, like I actually don't know why. On the very deepest level, why do I work hard? like it's but like basically like my thought process like I think generally it's to be a better person, to like improve myself. That's what I yeah, that's like generally what it is. Like but yeah, like but I don't know why. It's like you had asked me that, like why do you want to improve yourself? And like I don't have an answer to that. I guess it's just intrinsically fulfilling to see growth, like to know that you have gotten better. That makes me like happy in the long term way, not the dopamine way. Like I don't know, like is there a word for that? Like just being happy, like content type of long term calm happy, not short term excitement happy. But but yeah, like seeing myself get better. But also um other reasons include like what drives me like a lot, like a thing that I guess I use to get myself going is just recognition from other people. I don't know how good that is, but like it works. It's, for example, I like making YouTube videos, and one thing that drives me to do that is just when I see, like when I picture subscriber counts going up, it makes me want to work harder. Or yeah, or if I like look at the comments of my old videos, and like I'm lucky to be surrounded by many very nice people, and they say nice things about my videos, and looking at that makes me want to do more, makes me want to like get more nice comments. Okay, that's just seeking status. Yeah, like you see, like I have so many subconscious status games, but they drive me, so I guess they work. um Maybe. Okay, but yeah, I guess yeah, you leverage them for the good, not for the like you can I guess your yeah, like compliments can drive you, and they can make you like sadder than before you receive them, because it makes you want more, and desire is the cause of all unhappiness.
Yeah,
uh
that's true. Yeah, especially because like I feel like relying on on like external fact, like it kind of goes back to what you were saying about luck before, right? Like kind of relying on luck or like external validation for happiness is like, it's not necessarily a bad idea, at least in my opinion. Like I just found that it's so volatile. Like you don't want your life to be that volatile, right? Like if for example, like on my thing, it's like sometimes you get like hate comments. Sometimes you get comments that are like, oh my god, this is the best thing to ever exist. Okay, that's obviously hyperbole, but but the point is that like it varies so quickly that I feel like if you, like, at least for me, if I had judged myself on what happened like in that comment section or here, or like people judging the work or saying this or that, like I feel like life would just be a mess then. Because if you like value everyone's opinions equally, then it kind of becomes like, okay, but then what do you do? Like if you have 100 people and each one of those 100 people give you a different piece of advice or say something that's different, then if all of them are like weighted 1% equally, then you can never make decisions, right? So I guess like either, I mean, you can put your opinion above others, but then that's the thing, like how do you learn then? So I guess what's your like philosophy on taking advice and stuff?
hmm. Okay, so that's an interesting question. Yeah, I've like struggled with this a lot. Yeah, I find like I have a lot of subconscious sheep mentality where like I only realized this recently from like I was reading a Paul Graham essay, and he wrote something like if you, this is actually pretty common sense, like I knew this before, but just hearing him write it like made it sink in. And it was like if you reject an idea from an idea, like upon first hearing it, just because of who is saying it. Not a direct quote, I'm like not saying exactly what he said, but if you reject an idea just because of who said it, it's just tribalism, and it's like the lowest form. And I knew the idea before, but like just yeah, but I just it just made me think like how many ideas do I just instinctively reject because of who says it? And that's a lot of people. Like I find, yeah, like a lot. Like yeah, because I guess part of it actually has to do with status games. Maybe like in my mind, I I just I had a big aim to be better than other people in the past. Maybe still do, and I feel like sometimes I feel like I've achieved that. So like people who I think are like less than me, when I say something, I just like okay, like people from school, okay, because in TCAS we're all taught about unconventional thinking. Then when I hear kind of advice which is labeled, which is usually considered conventional, or it comes from people like at school, which is conventional, or comes from like parents, or comes from like classmates who are like, they're just regular 15-year-olds who play video games and they're not doing AI, which makes them not cool. Like when I hear people, yeah, when I hear stuff from that, it's like, I tend to automatically reject it. So, but basically, this also comes from what Naval said. Okay, maybe not what Naval said, but in his the book, the Almanac of Naval, which is like it's a really great book. I love it, and it's what made me internalize Naval's Twitter thread. But yeah, it's he at the beginning it was like Naval would have wanted you to not accept all of his advice. Naval would have wanted you to make your own judgment about his advice, and it was like you consider everything Naval says, but don't treat any of it like gospel. Like that was the set line, and it was like, wow. That's my framework for seeking advice. By the way, consider everything but treat nothing as gospel. So, yeah. So you consider what your family says, what conventional advice is. You consider what like TKS tells you, what like Elon tells you, what Naval tells you, but like you try to get a bunch of different perspectives, like diversify your perspectives, right? You diversify your stocks and you diversify your ideas. Both are good for you. You see different perspectives, and then like ultimately you don't follow any piece of advice because of who says it, or because like because of who says it. You still ultimately use your own judgment to decide what advice makes sense, and you follow what makes sense, basically, using first principles to decide what makes sense. And it's like trial and error. Like you can't update what you think makes sense, just like machine learning models can update your but another thing though, this is something I like how you're talking about, like for example YouTube comments, they're so volatile, right? Something that might help compress that like volatility is this other quote, forgot who said it. It was like, you are never as good as they think you are, and you're never as bad as they say you are. You're never as good as they say you are, and you're never as bad as they say you are. So that helps keep everything in check. If I get a compliment, I repeat that to myself, like to keep my ego in check. And if I get criticism, like hate comments, I also repeat that to myself. And yeah, that's how I try to deal with things ideally.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Like in this day and age, there's like especially with the internet, like there's so many different conflicting pieces of evidence, right? I mean, it kind of goes back to what you were saying about free will and whether it actually exists. But I feel like part of taking advice is diving deeper into deconstructing reality. I mean, that might seem completely unrelated, but it's like trying to find because I feel like the advice that you're given is never like the origin of that advice, right? Like that advice is basically like a combination of little bits and pieces of that person's life as they've journeyed in the last like maybe 40, 60 years. And then all those bits and pieces come together to give you that piece of advice. So I feel like, at least for me, like I've been trying to understand like human psychology on a deeper level to get to that, like where are these pieces coming from, right? Because I mean, it goes back to one of the principles in like 7 Habits of Highly Effective People or something. I quote that book way too much, but the point is that one of the principles is like seek to understand and not to be understood. So if you like understand, or at least, I mean, you can never fully understand something, but if you try to come close to like an understanding of how people think, like how like cognitive biases and things like that, like how the reality shapes your world, like order and chaos, how people make sense of it, beliefs and things like that, then it makes it like then when someone gives you advice, your brain immediately goes like, oh wait, I know where that's coming from, and then you literally deconstruct their advice into its core components, and then you can take their core components and reassemble them to a more clearer picture of reality.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I think that's like, I like that because yeah, it's like first principles, right? You like you see, yeah, you want to see like what exactly like helps you like reach whatever goal you have, and it's from like from the bottom up. Yeah, yeah, I like it. That
Actually,
makes
that's a
sense.
very, I just realized what I said is like a very complicated way of saying first principles.
Hmm. I like it though.
Yeah, I've actually like encountered it a lot. Like, I remember, I don't know who it was exactly, but there was like someone in my class who was like giving me advice on, hold up, what was it on? I think it was on like a YouTube video. Something, not 100% sure on what it was, but I remember thinking, like, okay, this person gave me X advice. Okay, cool, right? Like, and at first my thing was like, oh, take it to, like, just take the advice to heart, and like, because sometimes if it's like negative advice, it's like, oh no, I'm doing something bad, as you were saying, and you kind of need to like equalize that. But what I found more is that as I spent more time with this person, like as I started to understand, like, okay, like how did this person grow up? What are their beliefs? Like how, once I truly understood, like, or at least came to a close enough understanding of the person themselves and their personality, the temperaments, it makes it so much easier to draw that link. Like, oh, that's why they were giving me this advice. Like that makes so much more sense now. Right? Like, and that goes back to what people say about, like, haters, like it's because of insecurity, and like usually what I find is that people who are like hating on something are usually just kind of sad that that aspect isn't within themselves as well. Like it's almost like it's like, I don't know. It's like if you don't have something, you're more likely to look down upon something that doesn't have, like something that does have it. Right? Uh like perfection shames anything that's imperfect, even if it's not actively doing so.
Yo, wait, that makes so much sense. Yeah, that reminds me of something I read in Life of the Stoics. It was like, wait, what was it? Shoot. Okay. Oh yeah, it was like our greatest fear is that the person that you hate or like your enemy has the thing that you don't have. Okay, that's not a direct quote. Yeah, but yeah, and it's also yeah, it reminds me of what's it called? It was like um if someone is trying to bring you down, it means that you are above them.
I mean, it seems so cliche, but it's kind of true. Like I kind of feel pity in a sense, because not only are you kind of showing that, oh, I have the time to go do that, because honestly, like I feel like anyone who actually is aiming towards something worthwhile probably doesn't have the time to sit around and actively search up like people. And what's interesting is that in order for someone to hate on your work, they actually need to have consumed it. And it's like if they have enough time to consume it, what exactly are you doing with your life? I don't know. That's, it might be a very general way of looking at it, but it's just a very interesting aspect of human nature to me. The fact that you would
Yeah.
bring down, like, and that's something that all of us would do. Like, it's not even that there's something wrong with like haters, quote unquote. It's something that everyone does.
Hmm. Yeah, that's yeah, I definitely like feel that like in TCAS when we first talked about the celebrating others mindset, it was I don't know, like I feel like that I realized like Holly I like that week like we had to compliment other people, like celebrate other people, and I realized like I was not meaning anything I said. I was just doing it for the status game so I could appear as a like nice person, and that's how I gave so many compliments just throughout like life, just and like how yeah like that's do I just not like genuinely compliment people.
Yeah. I mean, that's true though, right? Because I feel like one thing is that the people who you want to compliment the most, who are like the closest to you in some way, the thing is that you know both their perfections and their imperfections, right? So whenever when you're trying to like compliment them, it's like, yeah, definitely you want to compliment their good things, but one part of your brain is like, oh, but these imperfections exist. I know about them. What about those ones? Are you just going to ignore them, Aditya? And like this voice in your head. And what's interesting is that you kind of have to like, I feel like this is with any compliment, you have to force it. Like you have to force yourself to like push aside your demons and truly like embrace both the faults and the perfections of someone else. And then that's kind of what breeds like the healthiness and the synergisticness. That's not a word, but like the collaborativeness of like any, I guess, relationship with like anyone, which is rather interesting thing. Like I discovered this a couple months ago, and it's like if you force yourself to give compliments, and if you force yourself to make them well-meaning, like instead of just accepting the fact that they're not, that increases the meaning in itself. If you didn't improve it like in the first place.
Oh, that's good to know. Yeah. Yeah, I think, yeah, that's, oh, yeah. Yeah, no, that just made me think about something. It was like, um, oh, what's it called? It was like, how do you know if a compliment is genuine, right? And I'm thinking it's just if I actually believe something, like if I see someone's video and I genuinely think it's a good video, and even if I'm like saying it that like I write in their comments like, yo, I like this video, in this part I liked it, even though I am forcing myself to ignore all the negative parts, like I guess that would still be a genuine comment, even though it's kind of forced because I genuinely like their video. But if I didn't genuinely like their video and I just write in the comments I like your video for status games, then that's, yeah.
Yeah, it's like signaling. It's like, hey, I'm morally superior than you. I rise above the dominance hierarchy by posting motivational quotes all the time. Right? And it's like, that's kind of. I just feel like, oh my god, I actually used to do that. Like a year ago, I was like, I'm gonna post motivational quotes. And then, like, this was before, like, way before TKS. Like, not, okay, not too much, like 3 or 4 months. And I was just posting. And then like, right now I'm looking back, I'm like, okay, I was literally trying to signal on a next level. And it's crazy how much you can change with the right experiences. Like, jeez.
Wow. But that's, yeah, no, that's something I used to do too. Like I think yeah, like for a while. Yo, yeah, like you know how this wall where I have not motivational quotes, but I have quotes here, and I used to put my camera in a way so you could read them when you talk to me, just because I wanted to signal people like, yo, I have motivational quotes on my wall, I'm cool.
Yeah, but literally though, that's what it kind of boils down to, is like anything that can make you seem superior is like, oh, let's just put it. It's kind of just crazy. Yeah. Have you felt like you've changed a lot in the last year?
I was actually thinking about this recently because it's like my birthday is coming up, and like I don't know, I birthdays are like, oh, thank you, but I don't know, it's like is there something to celebrate in a birthday though? Because it just makes me feel like, first of all, what's it called? It's like, oh yeah, this reminds me of this. It's a joke I saw, but it's actually kind of deep. It was like, instead of thinking of your birthday as 1 year past, think of it as one more year closer. You know, closer to, yeah. Like that was a wording. I don't know. It hit me, but also it's like if it's your birthday, like birthdays always make me feel old because I used to just tell people I'm a 15-year-old and I can't do that anymore, and it feels. It feels like my time is like slipping by, like another year has passed, and how much did I change, how much did I grow, did I even grow that much? And if I don't think I grew that much, then the birthdays don't feel like they're for celebrating, just feel depressing, like one more wasted year to celebrate, like I don't know, but do I think I changed a lot? I actually don't know. I don't think I can evaluate this objectively because, yeah, like, I don't know. I don't know. I think that change. I think a big like the biggest change I had was the most impactful I change I had was probably it was in like March or so. It was this one. It was discipline. Okay, it was this okay near IO. Okay, I heard like there were like these 4 or 5 different ideas that I've all heard separately, but I connected them in this one week. I heard all of them at once. It was luck. Like it was lucky. I heard listened to like these 5 podcasts within a week and was able to connect them. But it was very lucky. But yeah, but basically it was discipline. It was just the idea that discipline is doing something when you don't want to do it. And another changing idea was what Nir Eyal said. Nir Eyal is my favorite, one of my favorite people. But what he said was like distractions are not caused by anything external. They're not caused by social media. Distractions are caused by internally. You internally feel a craving to escape your emotional discomfort, which is why you go on social media, right? And that those like that just that turned around my discipline. It turned around my ability to get stuff done. And it so like it was also when I learned about deep work by what's his name, Carl. So yes, yeah, Carl Newport, yes. And then so then basically I got an ability to like deep work, like work 4 hours without getting distracted. After that, just because I taped to like this wall. It's like distractions is it's like discipline is doing something when you don't want to do it. And I would just read that every day. Discipline is doing something when you don't want to do it. So I don't want to work for 4 hours. Well, I'm going to work for 4 hours. And like that changed everything. That changed basically everything for me. Like I was able to get work actually done now. And I think my whole life, like not my whole life, but my whole past 3 years, it was just filled with the same feeling over and over. And it was a feeling of this is something I want to do. I want to make videos. I want to do quantum stuff. I want to code outreach. I want to build software, but I'm not doing it. Look at all of these things I want to do, but I'm not doing all of them. I'm a waste of space. I waste all my time. I'm a dumbass that like doesn't do stuff. But like no, that was like just how I thought. But recently, I think it was last week, I had the realization like, hey, that bucket list, everything I want to do, I am doing all of them right now, and there's like no need to be sad. And then I realized that I was crazy. Like there's no need for me to be sad right now because I'm doing everything I want. And so I guess that's the main way I changed in the last year. But yeah.
I think you just revolutionized my understanding of discipline as well. Like it, and what's interesting is that like distraction is internal. Just because then it kind of like it goes back to what, well, first for context, I listen to a lot of David Goggins and Jocko Willing because why not? But
That's
like
so cool.
yeah. Yeah, but like they always like say discipline equals freedom, discipline equals freedom, discipline equals freedom, right? And it's like cool, right? And then you have Goggins saying things like your mind will trick you into not doing things, right? Like your mind is like actively stopping you from achieving your full potential. Like it's literally saying no, you can't go further, stop it. And how it's like it's trying to be your enemy, but your job is to break past it and make it your friend. But I never really connected the two until you said that. Like distraction is internal. Like your mind is literally saying, like in terms of product, like it applies to the physical world, but also mental. Like your mind is literally saying like, no, we're not gonna work further. Like here's something else. Get distracted by that. Like it's trying to divert you, right? And then if you have that discipline, you can kind of just tell yourself to stop being a weak idiot, and just keep going on it. And then your mind it's like you rise above the dominance hierarchy of your mind. Like you go above your mind in a way, and then you become the alpha, and you're controlling the mind instead of the other way around.
Yo, that is, I like that. You rise above your mind.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just I'm honestly like after this, I'm probably just gonna go for like an hour work session. It's fantastic. Thanks so much for that.
Oh, yo, tell me how that goes. I hope it helps.
Definitely. Yeah. So, I guess just one like last question in general, like, what is your vision for the next 10 to 15 years? Like, what do you? I mean, asking someone randomly what's your life's purpose probably isn't the best way to do things, but if you have like a general idea, like what is it?
Oh, next. So like my life or like the world?
Just in both of them, whichever one is more appealing.
Okay, my life, I guess. What's my vision for the next 10? Okay, yeah, that's the thing. I was trying to set long-term goals in the past. Okay, this is gonna be a tangent, but I was trying to set long-term goals, and I was like, I literally can't. I don't have, I don't think I'm able to. So basically, I abandoned trying to set long-term goals, and I just said I'm going to play gradient descent with my life, which just means looking right? It's like you look around, you see the path that is steepest descent, or like the path around you that makes the most sense to do in the moment, then you relentlessly pursue that path. So this is a Samson quote again. So relentlessly pursue what feels right in the moment and look back, continuously reassess, and that's basically gradient descent. And like what Tom Bilyeu said, it was like he said, I'd rather be running 1,000 miles in an hour in the wrong direction than not moving. And I that's what I'm doing right now. I just pursue what feels right in the moment. I have no long-term goal. But if I were to say how I see myself in the most ideal case, which is where my brain goes when I dream about the future, I want to do YouTube stuff. I think I have, there's potential in the creator space to grow, especially quantum. I want to make, I could say this is a vision. Okay, so you know 3 Blue, 1 Brown, right? Yeah, 3 Blue, 1 Brown. He made this essence of calculus, essence of linear algebra, essence of machine learning. They go deep into the math. Like they actually explain the math, okay? No quantum YouTube video I have seen actually explains the math and explains it to like an audience that is not like PhD students, okay? So nothing. And since I predict quantum will take off, there will someday be a demand for quantum knowledge that is accessible, and no one is filling it right now. So why don't I fill it? So I want to do that. I want to because you see, if I could make like an essence of quantum computing, like video or videos that match 3 Blue, 1 Brown depth, because like quantum math is confusing. Lots of people don't get it. I don't get it. Okay, so I have to learn a lot to make that. Yeah, so if I could do that, I think there's a market for that. I think I could it's not even about blowing up on YouTube. Subscribers and views are cool, but it's also just, I think that would actually help people. So I want to do that. I want to Wait But Why, right? He writes these long, deep articles on Elon Musk companies, and he wrote one on AI, on Neuralink, on SpaceX and Tesla. They're really deep. They're more than 1 hour reads. So basically, it's that thing he wrote about AI and BCIs. Okay, AI and BCIs and quantum are kind of seen like the triangle of emerging tech. And an article for AI and BCIs both exist that go deep, and nothing exists for quantum that goes deep like that. So I want to do that. I want to write a 1 hour essay on quantum that goes deep, Wait But Why level deep and Wait But Why level humor. I've been I guess writing a ton of short blog posts in the past. Never written something that's 10,000 words. That will be a stretch, but I want to do that. I don't know. That's ambitious. That's very ambitious. But yeah, and
I definitely hope you succeed on that. First of all, if for the viewers right now, if you happen to see a channel named Laura Gao blow up in the next 10 years, come back to this podcast. It was all planned.
Yeah, I know the future, guys. This is the future. No.
Yeah, no, but I wish you all the best with those endeavors. I think it would be amazing to see people trying to, once again, as I said before, democratize as much knowledge as possible.
Oh, I would. I'll be really... Wow, thank you very much. Also excited to see what you do.
Yeah, definitely. Anyway, thanks so much for taking time out of your day to come on this. It was definitely a fantastic experience. You dropped a lot of knowledge bombs. I will first of all say that.
Oh, well, I'm glad you found them useful.
Yeah, definitely. Anyway, so for those of you guys listening, this is the Three Bucket Podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in, and yeah, have a wonderful day. Thanks, Laura.
Thank you.